So I'm going to begin by discussing the theme of identity, which is present in all of my novels. Identity is very much linked with my personal story in that I come from the Punjabi Sikh diaspora in Singapore. So I come from a minority racial and religious group within Singapore's Indian minority group in Singapore. So I've often had to explain my identity. I've often had to explain language and religious customs to people, even within my own country. And then I also grew up in lots of different countries. So I didn't just grow up in Singapore. I grew up in Japan, Russia, and the Philippines. And because I don't look like someone that people would usually consider a Singaporean, because most people consider Singaporeans as Chinese or East Asian looking at least, I've had to then sort of defend myself and defend my place in a culture where, or in a country where I always thought that I just naturally belonged. So any questions of who I am, where I'm from, even what my name is, or what's my religion, has always come with a lot of narrative and a lot of story. And I think that when you have this identity that feels incomplete to other people or requires explanations to other people, it gives you pretty good training to be a storyteller. I wanted to address this idea of being in between spaces in both Inheritance and The Unlikely Adventures of the Shergill Sisters. In Inheritance, of course, you have a family that's grappling with their place in Singapore society, with feeling marginalized and invisible in a society that doesn't really regard their identity as one that belongs in Singapore and doesn't really know much about their community. There's also a lot of focus on reputation and keeping up appearances because of that. There's also the rapidly changing landscape of Singapore as it modernizes and what that does to a traditional family. So I wanted to explore that conflict between tradition and modernity. For The Unlikely Adventures of the Shergill Sisters, I also wanted to explore the conflict between tradition and modernity, but I wanted to consider it as a spectrum that existed in each of the women in the novel. So I didn't want a particular woman to be traditional and a particular woman to be modern. I wanted them all to sort of have, contradictory impulses and multitudes in their identities and their characters. I think on the note of characters, I think I really want readers to identify with the characters even though they may not be from a world that's familiar to them. I think that the characters' humanity, the characters' search for belonging, and the characters' search for a true identity that speaks to all of their multitudes, I think that's something that's universal to all of us.